Hello, folks. I'm James Hill, and welcome to James Hill Sports. We are joined by a special gentleman. Let's go to the highest of seven hills. Let's talk Swac and HBCU championship football, the transfer portal, championships, and memories of a lifetime. First and foremost, Coach Willie Simmons, how are you? How's the family, and how is the family?
Well, we're doing well, James. Just still riding the high from this weekend, and excited to be able to be in this position to represent the SWAC and in the Cricket Celebration Bowl. So, like I said, excited, and everybody's doing well. I appreciate you asking.
35-14, the final score. Talk a little bit about what your takeaways from this particular contest. And again, this will be a game for the ages. People will talk about from here on out.
Well, considering the conditions and the elements, it was definitely one of the more interesting championship games in recent memory. You know, to have a delayed start because of lightning, and then to have another long delay right in the middle of the second quarter. It really was challenging for both teams and the fans. You know, to have to relocate, leave the stadium, come back in the stadium. Teams having to go in the locker room for 30 minutes at a time. And then come back, you know, with abbreviated warm-ups. You know, the last one right in the middle of the game where we had just missed the field goal and they had to come out and get the ball right away. So just considering everything that happened, it was a wild day to say the least. You know, but again, just excited that we were able to finish. You know, that's one of our words that we talk about all the time, and been on a great run, but just wanted to make sure that we close the thing out the right way. And the way the guys played, the way they overcame adversity, to be able to run the ball the way we did, even throw it in the elements, and you know, hold them to under 300 yards of total offense. Again, it's just a great all-around team effort, and excited to be playing really good football this time of year.
Coach, when you go back to that first quarter, speaking of dark cloud defense, 14-0 Famu. Take us back to the first quarter and what you see there.
Well, you know, we started the game off great with a huge turnover there, you know, in the first possession. And we've been really opportunistic really all season, but particularly the last half of the season on defense, getting our hands on balls. And we were able to get an early interception there with Javen Morgan, set up, you know, us with great field position. And Musa was able to hit Marcus Riley on the big double move there on the third play of the game to get us in position to score our first touchdown. And then was able to come out and stop those guys again and make them punt it to us. And we were able to drive the field again to get another touchdown. So just to jump up 14-0 early, you know, in those type of games, obviously we beat Prairie View pretty handily for homecoming. Coming in, we knew they'd be a formidable opponent. But when you jump out like that and create the type of momentum, it kind of gives them a here we go again type of feel. And I think, you know, maybe some doubt started to seep in, and our guys really took advantage of that.
Coach, we've heard stories over the years of conditions, and teams will play on snow, ice, rain, whatever it takes. As long as there's no lightning and thunder, or lightning, if you will, teams will play. But just talk a little bit about the elements, if you will, and obviously, you know, the start and then the delay, and you come back in a wet field and the conditions.
Yeah, well, you know, it's Florida, so you always got to account for some type of weather conditions unexpectedly. But, you know, I tried to keep my superstitions going and not talk about weather during the week, but it seems like everyone else wanted to talk about it. So we knew the forecast. You know, we knew that there was a storm passing through this weekend, and it was going to bring heavy rain and some potential thunderstorms. So, you know, the morning started out with plenty of rain, even at the hotel during our walkthrough. You know, it was really rainy, so we couldn't even go outside to walk through like we normally do. And so we kind of figured that we have a small window in there that you know, the first band will pass over before the second band came, and the game was delayed about 30 minutes. And so we had to abbreviate our warm up as you know, to try to accommodate it. And once the game started, it was still a pretty significant rain. And so it wasn't a torrential downpour to where, you know, you couldn't see anything or it was just water everywhere. But definitely concerning enough to make sure that we took extra care of the football and wanted to be smart with how we approached the game. But luckily, Musa was still able to grip the ball and throw it down the field. Our receivers did a really good job of taking their gloves off. A lot of times when you have gloves on, it loses it's kind of stickiness to it. So it actually makes it harder to catch with gloves during the rain. And so our guys did a great job of just controlling the elements and as much as we possibly could. And I thought we did a great job and was able to get some early points before the delays, which gave us a little bit of wiggle room.
Coach, second quarter as well as third quarter, both clubs actually scored 7 each. Take us into the second quarter and the third quarter.
Well, we came out again after the first quarter with a pretty sizable lead and was able to extend it to 21 going into the second quarter. And they were able to put one in before halftime. So we went in with a 21-7 lead. Came out, second half started, and then we had the second delay. And so we, the second delay was actually in the second quarter. We came out after halftime, and I took a gamble, which ultimately backfired. Went for it on fourth down there, didn't convert it, and they were able to get it on the short field and gash us for a long touchdown run to make it 24-14. Fortunately for us, that our defense was able to keep them out of the end zone the rest of the way, and we were able to tack on two late in the fourth quarter to put the game away. But it was a competitive game, and they fought. A few of their guys went down with injuries there throughout the game. Starting quarterback went out somewhere in the middle of the game, I think the third quarter, and so they finished the game with the backup. Some of their offensive linemen, one of their best defensive linemen. So they had some unfortunate injuries that kind of took their best players out of the game, and for us, we were able to exploit that a little bit.
Coach, when you have a football team, it's a long season. And starts in July and ends, culminates at the Celebration Bowl. But when you go through those different months, the heat and the humidity, the rain, and then the different travel and the different elements, just talk a little bit about that. But I know that you guys focus on playing the game and grinding through adversity.
Well, football's, for the most part, an outdoor sport. And so the vast majority of our young men grew up here in Florida. And of course, like I said in the beginning, if you grew up in Florida, you're going to have those showers at some point pretty much every day. And so it's just getting used to playing outside in the rain, getting used to competing at that level when the conditions aren't great. And so for us, we really talk a lot about just controlling what we can control. We don't get to control the elements. We don't really control the start time of the game. And so if a kickoff, particularly a TV game, kicks off and it's inclement weather, I mean, that telecast still has to go on. And it's paid programming. So, you got to play in it. Like you said, as long as there's not lightning in the sky, we're going to play. And so whether it's rain, whether it's extremely hot outside, extremely cold in certain parts of the country, even snow, it's football, so across the country, you look up this time of year and you see teams playing in all kind of elements. And so for us, you got to love that. You got to embrace that. And it comes along with the territory. And thankfully, our guys were able to do that and again, still go out and play really solid football.
Coach, to be able to hoist the championship trophy at the end of the night, how special is that, the symbolicness of that? And then just talk a little bit about, for the rest of your lives, that's a defining moment, and you guys got it done.
It was truly special. We talked to the team before the season started about, how this team stacks up against other teams that we've had, or even some of the great teams that have come through FAMU. And we genuinely felt that this team had a chance to be special and to be mentioned in the same breath as some of those historic teams. And we set out on this journey way back in early August, and we've been at it every single day. And we've checked off a lot of boxes this season, to go through the season undefeated in conference play, to be ranked, the last rankings 5th in the country, to host our first, postseason game in over 20 years, and now to win our very first Swac championship. It's very difficult, and I tell people all the time, it's very difficult to make history at FAMU, because our history is so rich. So to say that you're the first to do something is almost unprecedented. And so for us to be the first football team to win a SWAC championship is definitely something that, these guys can take with them forever. And we have a great chance to win the first Celebration Bowl in program history. And so, there have been teams that are etched in FAMU lore, the 78 team winning the FCS 1AA National Championship, the 79 team beating the University of Miami, the undefeated teams that Jake Gaither coached, back in the 50s and 60s. And so they're the 98 team, that went all the way to the semifinals of the FCS playoffs. And, there are a ton of just phenomenal teams that have come through here. And, if we can muster it up one more time and get the job done on December 16th, I think a 12-1 Rattler football team that maybe finished the season ranked third in the nation, maybe talked about right there with those teams as one of the best teams that ever come around here at FAMU.
Coach, what would you like to see happen in between now and when you guys run out of the tunnel in Atlanta to kick off or receive the kick for the coin toss of the national championship game in the Celebration Bowl? What would you like to see happen between now and then?
Well, for us, I think first and foremost, obviously, our guys have to take care of their business off the field. It's 2 weeks away, and we got to make sure we get everyone to the game. So that's the classroom, getting all the work turned in, making up missed assignments that maybe they've had during the season because of travel and some of those things. And again, just making sure that we're taking care of our business and everything outside of football. When it comes to football, it's just simple. Just do what we've done all year, and that's be where our feet are. That's really embrace the opportunity to go out and practice. Tomorrow will be our first official practice for the Celebration Bowl. And so how locked in can we be with the game that's, over a week out against an opponent that we haven't played in some time? Can we get to know those guys, being that they've had really a 2-week head start on us? They've already had 2 weeks to kind of scout both FAMU and Prairie View. So regardless of which team won this past Saturday, Howard already has some intel, so to speak. They've been able to watch our film, look at our depth charts, pull up our PFF rankings and all the things that we do during scout reports. And so we got some catch-up work to do and really commit ourselves to making sure that our operation is airtight, that any chinks in our armor, they're likely to find it. When you have a month to prepare for a team, you can scout every single play that they played this season, probably last season. We have the fortune and the misfortune, depending on how you look at it, of having the same play callers the last 3 years. I've called the offense every year since I've been here, and Ryan Smith has called the defense over the last 3 years. So they can go all the way back as far as 21 if they want to try to scout us and see if they can find something to take advantage of something that we do. So for us, we got to catch up in that regard. We have to know them as well or better than they know us. And so tomorrow in practice is about really just getting out there and getting back to the basics, alignment, assignment, communication, all the little things it takes to be successful in a football game. That's typically what our first day is for us. We'll really focus in on that. And when we come off the field in about an hour and 15, 20 minutes, hopefully we're better fundamentally than we were going into the game, and then we'll slowly get to know more and more about Howard as we watch more film, as we do more scouting, and all the things that we're able to do in this time frame. So we're excited, but I just want to see our team be where our feet are and really focus on the here and now and not so much what will happen on the 16th.
Coach Simmons, when you look at the just basically over the next few weeks, the final exams, the graduations, the Celebration Bowls, the high school playoffs, championship games, all these different moving parts. How does all this, the holidays, how does all this fit into the equation as you move forward one day at a time?
Well, we got two choices. We can be thankful and blessed that we have, the opportunity to go and play in Atlanta amidst all the things that are happening, here on the Heights of Seven Hills over the next 2 weeks. You're right. It's the Florida High School Association, Athletic Association football state championship start this coming Thursday. So for that 3-day period, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, every state champion will be crowned here in Brad Memorial Stadium. And so us having to navigate that, we have commencement coming up next week. So 6 of our guys are graduating this term, and they've had to make decisions regarding them walking, for graduation. We have a plan for it, and we feel comfortable with that plan, but it's still something to navigate. And like I told them, there are only, I think, 10 teams left. I think the 8 in the FCS playoffs and the 2 teams in the Celebration Bowl that are still playing. Everyone else is turning their equipment. Everyone else has done their exit meetings, and they're preparing for next season. And so they get a little early jump on recruiting on us because they're able to get out on the road and really, host visits and some of the things that we don't have the luxury of doing because we are preparing for a national championship. So, we can embrace that, or we can complain and be like everybody else, but knowing this group, we embrace it. We're excited about this opportunity, and we much rather be here than being a team that can get an early jump on recruiting, So we talk about controlling what we can control. That's all we do talk about here at Famu within this program. There's always adversity. We have a choice to make in how we control, how we deal with it. And we want to continue to keep a positive mindset and to really be thankful for the opportunity that we have to continue to play the game this year.
Coach, the game of college football is still the same game, but some of the variables have changed. You bring in the transfer portal. That's a buzzword, and that's a major piece of moving parts, so to speak, whether it be a graduate transfer or someone who wants to just go in a different direction. When you look at the transfer portal, and specifically today and what that's been like today and just really how that is in the current college football landscape, talk a little bit about the transfer portal.
Well, the unique thing about the transfer portal is that it's not new. It's been around forever. Just for a long time, the only way student athletes, primarily in football, were able to compete right away without sitting a year is by transferring, quote unquote, down to a lower level. So if you were an FBS football player, 1A, what they used to call it, you had to transfer to an FCS or 1AA school. If you were FCS or 1AA, you had to transfer down to a Division II. And so, that changed a few years back. When they passed a one-time transfer rule. The transfer rule in college football, college athletics, stipulates that when you transfer schools, you're required to sit 1 calendar year before you can compete. And so that's still the rule. The exception is what has been passed over the last couple of years. So they give you a one-time exception for that. And so you get one time to transfer from one school to another school without having to sit for that academic year. Now, the thing that a lot of young men and young women aren't reading the fine print on or paying attention to is if you transfer a second time, you're not able to use that exception anymore. So now you go back to the original rule of sitting out a year. And so there are a few exceptions to that, but not many. I think you saw this year, a lot of individuals denied the ability to play because it was their second transfer. The NCAA even came in midway through the season and appealed or overturned one of the denials and allowed a young man to finish out the season. But it's the new way. It's the new way of college athletics. It's not going anywhere. I think it'll maybe get to the point one day where there's an unlimited amount of transfers, much like high school. But until then, we have to be mindful of that. We can take advantage of it. There are a lot of young men that we've brought into this program that really helped us through the transfer portal. There are other individuals that have left our program to go to other places and attempt to play. So there are benefits to everything within this thing, and also there's some concerns or some drawbacks to it as well, like everything else. But I think people are trying to do what's best for them, and if situations don't work out, find somewhere that maybe it can. But yeah, anyone who opposes the transfer portal, you might as well, as they say, put that in the pipe and smoke it, because it's not going anywhere. It's more likely here to stay.
Coach, the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, afforded players an opportunity to play an extra year. Talk a little bit about that concept as that comes to an end and guys were able to go out and maybe get a master's degree or play an extra year, different than, say, maybe a knee injury and a medical red shirt. Take us through the COVID concept.
Well, obviously, one of the few benefits of the COVID pandemic was the NCAA extending the waiver to anyone who was on an active roster during that time. And so if you were a returning student athlete, you were able to play during the COVID year and then not count against your 5 years. At the NCAA level, you get 5 years to play 4 years of competition. And you can utilize one of those years as a non-participation red shirt. And that can be for a myriad of reasons. It can be just you just didn't play, coaches didn't feel you were ready. It can be for an injury. Could be utilizing the transfer exception that 1 year that maybe you didn't use it before. You use that year, just the red shirt as your year of residency. But they used that COVID year, but basically they took the COVID year and extended everyone's clock basically 1 year. And so there are a lot of guys that were in the 18 class, 19 class, who had already redshirted, who was able to get, in essence, another redshirt year. And many of them who played even, but that year essentially didn't count towards their clock. So guys like Jeremy Musa, Nick Dixon, David Manigault, a lot of those guys are utilizing that extra year, Eric Smith even. And so, there've been some tremendous benefits. Like you said, those guys are allowed to stay in school, further their education. Jeremy Musa came here as a graduate. He got his master's degree in sport management after the first year, and now he's getting an MBA. And so he will actually leave college with an undergrad degree from Vanderbilt University, which is a great institution, and 2 master's degrees from Florida A&M. So I think he has a career possibly in the NFL, but if not, he definitely has some great choices with the degrees that he's earned during his time in college. And so we can utilize that for another year. I think after this season, next year's class will be the last year that we'll be able to utilize that extension, because the class that came in 20 during the COVID year, that year will be considered their redshirt year. So even if you didn't play, whether you played or didn't play, that year will count as your redshirt. So they won't get a 6th year. They'll just get those 5. So some will play 5 years, some will play 4. But for the guys in the class of 18 and 19, some actually got to play 5 years of college football, which again is a benefit to them.
Coach, all the great teams are phenomenal at home. And when you look at FAMU and Bragg Memorial Stadium, Ken Riley Field, the winning streak is something that you can't miss when you look at FAMU, and you've been a part of that. Talk a little bit about that winning streak. And again, it's historic, and it's a cemented legacy.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to be proud of, that we currently have the nation's longest home win streak at 20 games. We were second, but thankfully North Dakota State beat Montana State in overtime this past weekend and knocked them off from having the nation's longest win streak. So 20 games since we've seen defeat here on Ken Riley Field at Bragg Memorial Stadium. Actually, the COVID class of 18 are the last 4 left on this team that have ever lost at home. Anyone who came here 19 and beyond doesn't know what it feels like to lose a game here at our home stadium. So it's a great sense of pride. Obviously, I think we have one of the best game day atmospheres out there. It's a very difficult place to play for multiple reasons. And our guys really do feed off that energy that we receive here at Bragg Memorial Stadium. So for us, the goal is to take that atmosphere to Atlanta for the Celebration Bowl and have that same type of feel to it. So looking forward to it. We want to continue to extend that win streak and see how long we can push it to. I remember the University of Miami back when I was growing up had like a 50-some game home win streak. We would like something like that, but it is nice to know that it's been over 4 years since we've suffered defeat here on our home field.
Coach, when we look at the Howard University Bison and we see Coach Scott, who we know from the U and Gainesville and Tennessee and South Florida, and he's a Florida gentleman. Some people call it Florida boy. When you look at Mr. Hunter and some of his personnel, Mr. James running the ball, and just that team they have, Q Williams. Just talk a little bit about Howard so far, what you see, and I know you're just getting into the Celebration Bowl part of it.
Well, obviously they're the MEAC champs, and you can't win the MEAC if you're not a really good football team. And the one thing about them, they played a very, very grueling non-conference schedule. Played Northwestern and had them on the ropes. Went up to, I think it was Eastern Michigan, and had it not been for two, I think, kick returns for a touchdown, they probably beat Eastern Michigan. They played Harvard, which is always a really, really good Ivy League school. So you look at them and say, well, they're 6-5 with 3 of their losses to some really, really good teams. And they did drop one in conference, South Carolina State. But, the team that everyone kind of had pegged to repeat, North Carolina Central, I mean, Howard, beat them pretty handily, 50-20. And so they're a dangerous football team. They have a very, very dynamic rushing attack with Eaton James and a couple of those other guys back there. Defensively, they're going to try to really, really challenge you, get in your face. They like to keep those defensive backs near the box and make it really, really difficult to run the ball against. And they have a quarterback that's a seasoned vet at this point, Quentin Williams. And so, they have a really, really nice recipe, a good formula there. Coach Scott's a phenomenal coach. Like you said, he's been around the block, seen it all. And so I definitely look forward to a great challenge. It's the 2 best teams right now in Black college football, playing for a national championship. And, obviously we understand the magnitude of the game. The MEAC has kind of had the Swac's number. 5 of the 6 years of the Celebration Bowl, the MEAC has taken the championship home. So, we've been giving out marching orders from our commissioner, Dr. Charles McClellan, to bring the Celebration Bowl trophy back to the Swac where we feel it belongs.
Coach, in closing, are there any final comments you would like to say with the FAMU Nation? And again, as you said, only Grambling has been able to, Coach Fobbs has been able to win that Celebration Bowl. Everything else is coming out of the MEAC. And of course, you've been a part of the MEAC in the past.
Yeah, no question. But I just really want to just give a huge shout out to Rattler Nation. The way they showed up last weekend, man, was phenomenal. It was unbelievable. With the conditions, with the again, people knew a week out in advance that it was going to rain this past weekend. And for the 14,000+ people that showed up to that championship game, in the rain and during the lightning delays, still making it a great game, the atmosphere. I mean, it was truly phenomenal. But again, that just speaks to the Rattler Nation's commitment, their love for this football team, their love for this university, and just their undying, unwavering support of everything FAMU. And so I'm honored to lead this group. I'm honored to represent FAMU. Our players, every time we take the field, we tell them we represent the orange and green. And there are thousands upon thousands of Rattlers that are out there, bragging different when it comes to this football program. And so, we're one of the most storied programs in all of Black college football. We're right there in the number of national championships, Black college national championships. And we look forward to hopefully adding to that number, and this team has been kind of the team of destiny. We felt that way all season. And, we got to be 1-0 one last time, and that's the goal. And so we got a chance to close it out the right way. We put ourselves in a great position, but we also understand that we have a really, really good football team coming in, again, that's had a lot of time to kind of prepare for us, and we got to be on our A game. So look forward to seeing everyone in Atlanta on December 16th as we take on the Howard Bison and see if we can finish this thing off the way that we envision it being, and bring the Celebration Bowl trophy and the Hbcu National Championship back to the Heights of Seven Hills.
Coach, the Atlanta experience, when you look at the Mecca, and that particular stadium is a controlled environment. It's an NFL stadium, and it should be a phenomenal stage to play on. Just talk a little bit about going into Mercedes-Benz Stadium and giving the fans what they want to see in Atlanta. It's going to be a beautiful sight.
It definitely will be a beautiful sight. You know, we dub Atlanta FAMU North, so we know that Rattler Nation is going to be in full effect. Don't know how many tickets Howard will sell, but we know in every allotment that FAMU gets will be sold. And if Howard doesn't sell theirs, we'll buy theirs up too. And you know, they've been clamoring for us to get back to Atlanta for a very, very, very long time. You know, what better way to get there than playing, you know, a national championship game in Mercedes-Benz. So look forward to playing in an NFL venue. You know, it's a great opportunity for our guys, great opportunity for our fans to be able to experience Atlanta, the Black Mecca, so to speak. And so again, it's just an amazing opportunity, and you know, we're looking forward to being a part of this game. And it's words can't describe how elated we are. But we got a few days to get to work, and we're going to definitely do that and not get ahead of ourselves because there's a lot of work to be done between now and then. But again, couldn't be happier for this group that we get to end the season in a place that has really, really benefited from Rattlers for a very, very long time.
Well, folks, there you have it from Coach Willie Simmons, the Coach of the Year of the SWAC. He is taking his FAMU Rattlers into Atlanta to play for the Black College National Football Championship in the Celebration Bowl 2023, coming soon to Atlanta, Georgia. I'm James Hill.